First of all, as always, welcome to the Center for Returns Yeshiva-Lite. It's one of our very good programs, although we have many good programs, but this everyone really likes and gets a lot out of. And we are very honored to have Rabbi Blum, an outstanding Talmud Chacham, someone who is self-effacing, that I can tell you, is one of the most modest people that I know, and truly modest. And you see, he's not even looking up because he's so embarrassed.
just let me speak.
And he writes a beautiful, for decades already, puts out Torah Ladas, which is a beautiful pamphlet every single week, which actually sent a few weeks in advance, but you get every single week separately within that packet. And beautiful, beautiful thoughts on the Sedra, from obviously great knowledge of all aspects of the Talmud. And we are very, very delighted and honored to have him. Without further ado, Rabbi Blum.
Okay.
So we're aiming for 8:10.
8:10? Okay. You got it.
Very good.
Usually I set a stopwatch, but all my buttons stop working on this, so I'm just satisfied that it gives me the time. But otherwise it would beep like 5 minutes before, and then. But you can feel free to.
I can set my
fine.
smartphone.
No problem. First, I'm very honored that Rabbi Khan asked me to speak. It's he's trying to encourage me to speak. He told me about all of the very distinguished rabbis who've preceded me, and he was so effective in describing his whole array of wonderful speakers. I feel that very insignificant compared to the very, very wonderful people who preceded me. He almost scared me off completely from coming because I don't measure up to their stature in any way. The other thing that's almost scared me off was that when Rabbi Khan emailed me the preparatory notes that he gave and all the information that everyone was being prepared with, it also got me scared because I think you're better prepared for this lecture than I am. So I have to do the best I can. Rabbi Khan, I know for so many years, and his Rebbitzin, they've done so much wonderful work in Kirov, and not only not just for people who are completely unaffiliated, but people who are very much affiliated with Judaism. Rabbi Khan was a Rosh Yeshiva in Torah. He gave shiurim and he gave wonderful classes, and he himself is a Talmud Chacham, a great Torah scholar of note. So I'm a little bit nervous speaking in his presence. If I was smart, I just walk out now and let him give the lecture. Many years ago, I had the special opportunity to teach for Rabbi Khan. I gave a number of lectures in New Rochelle, and I just reminded him the other day when I spoke to him. He had forgotten about it, but I certainly didn't. I gave a series of lectures in a home in New Rochelle. Very fine people there, very people interested in learning and growing and doing the right thing. And I was again a little bit. I drove up there in my 1976 Nova to this very fancy house, and all of the cars there parked in that circular driveway were probably about 8 or 9 times the cost of the value of my little Nova. But what I remember particularly about that was that one fine evening, it was December 2nd. I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember how many years ago, probably about 26 years ago. I left a pregnant wife in Queens, a very pregnant wife, and came up to give the shiur. And middle of the class, I got a call to please come back right away. And by the time I had to excuse myself. Rabbi was nice enough to let me go and to whether he continued the class from there or not. I don't know what happened, but Rabbi is very convincing. And if he would have told me to stay, I probably would have stayed. But I heeded my wife's advice and Rabbi Khan's advice, and I came home. My wife was already in very heavy labor. So much so that Hatzalah, my mother-in-law was there, she called Hatzalah. They couldn't take her to Mount Sinai Hospital, where she was scheduled to give birth. They had to take her to Booth Memorial, which was the closest hospital. And she gave birth, I'm not exaggerating, within about 5 minutes of when we came in. And Baruch Hashem, that daughter is already a mother of 3.
Rochelle?
I'm sorry?
Did you name her New Rochelle?
Just Rochelle. Just Rochelle. And Baruch Hashem, after that we had another 8 children. So Baruch Hashem, we got started off okay, and the other deliveries were a little bit less stressful.
When that daughter got married,
this is going to lead us into tonight's topic. Okay, fine. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of ways of getting into that topic, but not so easy to get out of it. But anyway, Rabbi Khan wasn't sure whether we'd be able to finish all 24 questions, and I bet you I'll be able to. Since you're all prepared, there's nothing too much that I have to. That's me, by the way. Let's put that off.
another child?
So exactly. No, this is actually I check the Erev in Garden Hills. This is my Erev partner. That we go every Erev Shabbos morning and to go check the Erev. So as far as I know, the Erev isn't expecting or anything like that, so I can call him back later. In any case, is there a mitzvah, is there a commandment to marry? And the answer is that the very first mitzvah in the Torah is the mitzvah of pru'urvu, which is to be fruitful and multiply. And the whole process of marriage is leading to that fulfillment of that mitzvah. But even in a situation where it's people are beyond the age of having children, there still is a mitzvah to get married. The Torah says that it's not good for a man to be alone, and he has to for companionship and also for the sake of having a normal existence, he has to try to find to remarry even at a later age in life. There are people, when you hear people sometimes in the 70s or 80s who remarry, it's not. Let's put it this way: it is in accordance with the Jewish law and the Jewish tradition, and it's an appropriate thing. The mitzvah of marriage, we're going to see, started off with the very first couple that were created, Adam and Chava. And do I have to translate that? Adam and Eve. And there are all kinds of interesting customs that apply to the marriage ceremony, which are related to the way our rabbis describe the marriage of Adam and Chava. Most notably, that we have someone accompanying the bride and the groom down towards to the chuppah, because the rabbis say in the Medrash that that Hashem Himself, God, and the angels accompanied Adam down to the chuppah, and therefore there's a special custom of accompanying the chassan and the kala, bride and the groom, down to the chuppah. We also actually learn a lot of interesting halachas of minhagim, a lot of customs pertaining to marriage, from the fact that when the Jewish people were given the Torah, the whole concept of the giving of the Torah is compared to a marriage between God and the Jewish people. And there are all kinds of interesting comparisons. The fact the Torah itself that was given to them, the Ten Commandments, the tablets, was like the marriage ring, or that was the object that was given in exchange for the Jews accepting God's proposal of marriage. And according to some, the Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, was held over their heads. And the simple explanation was they were sort of, given an ultimatum: either you accept the Torah, or this is we're dropping the mountain on you. But there are those who say that holding the mountain over them was also a form of a chuppah. That was the chuppah. There was a chuppah and there was a kedusha. There was the marriage canopy, and then there was the object that was used in order to effectuate the kedusha, the actual marriage. So we'll talk about all these things. The second question. So anyway, as far as the first question, there definitely is a mitzvah to marry. The mitzvah is not only just to have children, but there's a mitzvah for a man and a woman to live together in matrimonial harmony. And when they do that, there's a special sanctity that envelops them, envelops the whole household. And a special kedusha is something which is which we wish every bride and groom that under the chuppah that they should merit this. Now, who may a Jew marry? I saw it in the sheets. Khan provided me with that. There's a whole list of different people that that are forbidden for one to marry. There are all kinds of laws, and this now. If I would go into this now, that would be the end of the lecture. So if you could look and see that, and then obviously there are situations where people who when it comes to if they were married, married in accordance with Jewish law. So then, if the marriage is dissolved, then they have to have a Jewish get, a Jewish bill of divorce, and before they remarry. So that's certainly a very important consideration when one is not allowed to marry a person who was not divorced, who was married but not divorced properly. That's a very contemporary issue. There are many situations like that. I'll tell you just a little interesting story that happened with us many years ago. My wife had a woman, a Russian woman, who was a Jewish woman, who was babysitting, doing some light house cleaning when my wife was teaching. And one day, the woman looked very upset, and my wife asked her what's bothering her. And she said that she's married and she hasn't had children. She thinks maybe it has to do with the fact that she was married in Russia and she never received a proper divorce, and then she remarried over here. So that's which is does not sound like a very promising situation. In any case, some of the local rabbis in Queens, Rabbi Steinberg and others, got involved with the case, and they did some research into her first marriage to see whether it was a valid marriage, whether the ceremony was done properly. According to Rav Moshe Feinstein, one of the great halakhic authorities of our times, if the original marriage was not valid, so then if she would remarry, without getting an official divorce, it would not be as serious a matter because she was never officially married. Anyway, so where do you start? She came from some little town in Russia, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. How do you start investigating and finding out about the marriage? Somehow, I don't know who was involved with doing the research and the detective work. They found out that I don't want to call him the rabbi, the clergyman who handled the marriages in that particular little town in Russia lived a few miles away from us there in Queens. He lived in Forest Hills. And it's unbelievable how they unearthed this fellow, and they made arrangements then with a rabbi in Forest Hills who knew Russian, and they called this person down, and there were a number of rabbis then that wanted to interview him to find out how he would proceed when he had to perform a marriage. So the man was an elderly man. He wasn't. He was a little confused and a little bit. I don't want to say senile, but he was just not 100%. So it was a delicate job to interview him and to ask him questions. And they made it seem as if they wanted to find out the customs of his hometown, so he wasn't put off by the questions. And it turns out that he was a completely ignorant person. He just knew perhaps a drop more than everyone else there, so he already by default became like the de facto rabbi in town, and he performed all these marriage ceremonies. And they started asking him questions. It was like a script that was made to order, because anything that could be done wrong was done wrong. It was unbelievable. There were no witnesses that were valid. The ring that was used didn't belong to the groom. It was done. I mean, the whole they had all kinds of ceremonies on Shabbos there that involved all kinds of desecration of Shabbos. I remember everything we asked him. They didn't do it right. He didn't put the ring right. I mean, everything. So at the end of the discussion, it was quite a heartening situation there, from something that looked so bleak. This woman who seemed to have remarried without a proper divorce. Now, according to Rav Moshe, she was never really married. So it was, so according to Rav Moshe, then she would have been allowed to remarry. There are another very famous rabbi who was against that particular ruling, and we went to Rav Moshe Feinstein's son, Rav David Feinstein, asked what to do, and he said that try to find the original husband, get a get from him. And believe it or not, they were able to do that. They found him. He had moved to Israel. He was living in Eretz Yisrael, and they were able to procure a get from him. And then after all this effort, and all this unbelievable, divinely orchestrated situation, they finally received the bill of divorce from their husband who was living in Israel. So they told the women, come to the Beis Din, come to the rabbinical court and pick it up. And she never showed up. I don't know. For months and months she didn't show up for the get, until they asked, why aren't you coming? She said she thought they were for it, so she didn't want to come. Eventually she got it. But anyway, the point is that if a marriage is not done properly, so then halachically it's not valid. Okay, now Rabbi Kahn is probably wishing, let him just finish that story, we're ready to go on, let's talk about the marriage. So we'll do that. Okay, the role of the shadchan in Jewish law, the matchmaker. Okay, a matchmaker is not just like someone from the Fiddler on the Roof, some yenta who's somehow has a rather unseemingly annoying type of demeanor, who's and just out to get money. In Jewish life, the matchmaker, the shadchan, is a very, very important person. The role of the matchmaker is considered a very, very praiseworthy either vocation or avocation. Some very famous rabbis in history were shadchanim. They were matchmakers. Because one of the great rabbis of the medieval of the Ashkenazi Jews was the Maharil, Yaakov Mulin, and he was probably all of the Ashkenazic customs originate or came through him, and he was his only source of income was as a shadchan, as a matchmaker. He didn't take any money from his community, and for any of his rabbinic services he didn't take money. But for services as a shadchan, that's where he took money. Because according to the law, a matchmaker is entitled to a fee, and not a small fee. It depends on the particular the going rate in that particular area. But a matchmaker who successfully makes a match is entitled to a fee. And he has the right to take the two sides to a Beis Din, to a rabbinical court, in order for them to insist, to force the two sides to pay up. Sometimes there were situations where the rabbi who was officiating at the wedding would refuse to officiate the wedding until both sides paid the shadchan. And one of the great rabbis in the last few hundred years, the Chassam Sofer, used to say that the most kosher money available is money that's given for shadchanis, money that's given for towards a matchmaker. But the role of a matchmaker is a very important one. As a matter of fact, the Maharsha, one of the great commentators on the Gemara, says that when the rabbis say when a person leaves this world, there are certain questions that he has to answer. One of them is were you honest in your business dealings? Did you set time for studying Torah? And one question was asakta b'peri v'rivya. Were you involved with the mitzvah of having children. So the Maharsha explains that it doesn't mean that each individual is asked that question on a personal level, did you have children? But rather he's asked, well, did you try to promote the mitzvah as a shadchan? So when we think of, sometimes we know of single people that need shidduchim and are looking to get married. Helping them is a very, very noble cause, and something that after 120 years we'll be able to answer in the affirmative that we were involved with helping people to find their matches. Okay, this discussion we could spend a whole class on this also. Let's go on. What is the vart and the ofruf? The vart, a vart sometimes is loosely translated as an engagement party. The truth is that it's, in many situations, it's probably an accurate description, but it originally comes from a party that was made when the two sides agreed to get married, and they would sign a document called Tanaim, where they would both sides would write there what they were giving towards the bride and the groom, and then they would shake hands, and it was a legally, halakhically binding agreement. A vart literally means a word, but you're giving your word. They're giving their word that they go through with the marriage, and it was considered a very, very serious commitment. So much so that the Chaim Volozhin and other great rabbis would say that it's such an important commitment that if people already went through this tanaim, this agreement, and they signed the document, and everything went through, and then something happens, they decide that they don't want to go through with the marriage, it's a very, very serious thing to break. There was some who would say that it's better to go through with the marriage and then give a divorce rather than break a vart. So because it's such a serious matter, the prevailing custom is that we don't do this until right before the marriage ceremony. In the room adjacent to the chuppah, before the marriage ceremony, they do the tanaim then. But somehow everyone likes a party, so the vart still remains in many circles, and many people do have it. So it really just has the value of an engagement party. As long as they're not signing a tanaim and making an official agreement, so then it's not as serious. Among the Hasidim, they do make a real tanaim, and it is a real serious matter. But most in the non-Hasidic world, they wait until they have their party, the vart. Nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't have any halachic ramifications. And then they do this tanaim where they sign a document right before the marriage. And that document, that tanaim, is just basically a formality. It just says we're going to go through with the marriage. Both sides are satisfied with everything, and we're going to go through with the marriage. Okay, the ofruf. Ofruf means is where the groom is called up to the Torah the Shabbos before he gets married. Shabbos before the marriage is an obligation for him to receive an aliyah, to be called up to the Torah. And it's customary then to have some type of a kiddush. They make some type of a party after davening, in the morning in the shul after the services are over. But the main thrust of the ofruf is being called up to the Torah. And if people, sometimes we hear that the people they make an ofruf 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance. There's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes it's just not convenient to be able to, if they want to make a big kiddush and a big party, after the shul, and then the wedding is the next day, and they have to put up people, and it gets a little complicated. So they'll make it 2 or 3 weeks in advance, but that still doesn't absolve the groom of getting his aliyah, being called up to Torah the Shabbos before. I know in my shul we've had a good number of times over the years. We've had someone's there. We asked him, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm getting married tomorrow, and I'm just in town." So he actually had his official ofruf just by getting his aliyah, by being called up to the Torah in our shul. The Ashkenazim have this custom of having this ofruf the week before the marriage. Among the Sfaradim, they don't really have that. It's just the Shabbos after the marriage is the main celebration. So this is one of those the differences between Ashkenazim and Sfaradim as far as whether there is an Ufraf. Okay. Number 5. What is the source of the custom of the bride and groom fasting on the day of their wedding? Now here again, this is an Ashkenazic custom. Sfaradim don't have this custom. And there are a number of reasons that are given, going from the, I guess from the, to the sublime to the not so sublime. The sublime reason for having, for fasting on the day of the wedding is because it's like their Yom Kippur. It's the day of their Day of Atonement, the day that they're repenting for everything they did. They're starting their lives over again now. It's the day of forgiveness, and which is a theme that we see a few times, a number of places there in the marriage ceremony. So they fast then as a way of atonement. Okay, that's the sublime. Now, I don't want to say ridiculous, but I want to say, but because there are the halakha ramifications, but it's not so sublime. The other reason is because we want to make sure that the bride and the groom are completely sober at the time of the marriage ceremony. If either one of them is inebriated to the point where he or she is not in control of his or her senses, that would invalidate the entire ceremony. Now you could ask that, fine, so just ban them from alcoholic beverages the day of the marriage, which somehow they certainly should do that. But the custom became that you don't have anything. So if you're not eating anything or drinking anything, then for sure you're not going to be drunk. There's another reason, which isn't as well known, is who brings Ram Brisk, I think, one of the early halakha authorities. I think he said the reason was that it should be an atonement for the disagreements that went into the marriage. You know, all the negotiations and the differences between the bride side and the groom side. Sometimes things get a little bit uncomfortable, and sometimes they get downright unpleasant. So the bridegroom want to start off their marriage on the right foot, and if there were all kinds of fights that went into it, and the Rabbi say in the Gemara, "Lekek ksubah l'ram beit tigra," there is no ksubah, there's no marriage that doesn't have some disagreements. There has to be some disagreement, and I'm hearing there were two great Hasidic rabbis who were related to each other, whose children were getting married, and I think I don't remember how closely they were related, but whatever it was, everything was fine. They were in great terms. So, like before the marriage, one of them said, "We got to have a fight," because the rabbis say that there's no marriage. There's something wrong. If you have to will something. But in any case, though, very often there's a big something. So we want to do tshuva for that. They fast the day of the wedding. Okay, these are a number of the reasons. Now, the Sfaradim don't do it, and even among the Ashkenazim, if people aren't good at fasting, if it's hard for them, there are many leniencies that they don't have to fast. They could sometimes fast a half a day. They can give tzedakah instead. Some people get married on Rosh Chodesh. Right? That's a perfectly legitimate reason for not having to fast. Rosh Chodesh, at the beginning of the month, is somewhat of a holiday, so you're not allowed to fast then. So if you schedule your marriage for then you certainly don't have to fast. In any case, that's the custom of fasting on the day of the wedding. Incidentally, if they get married at noontime, then we just rely on the reason that we don't want them drunk at the time of the marriage, so then they can break their fast then. They don't have to fast the rest of the day. And by the same token, there are those who say that if they get married, let's say if someone get married tonight at 8 o'clock, and it was already dark, let's say at 6 o'clock, so once the day of the leading up to the marriage is over, in other words, that day they were fasting and doing tshuva and repenting, that was their Yom Kippur was the day leading up to it, so technically they could break their fast at 6 o'clock and then go into the marriage, not fasting. So I told this to one of my daughters, and she was married, and she didn't want to listen. She had it in her mind that she's going to fast till under the chuppah, and the mother, when they give them a little bit of wine to drink, okay, she wanted to do it, fine. But anyway, she didn't have to. Okay, now what do the chassan and kala, the groom bride, add to their mincha prayer on the day of their wedding, and why? It's also since it's like their Yom Kippur, so they recite their certain prayers of the vidoy, ashanu, achet, certain things. The easiest way to describe it is if you open up your Art Scroll Sitter and you look at the mincha for Erev Yom Kippur, that's what they say. They say it's a weekday mincha plus these special prayers of penitence. And that's the last time before the last prayer before they get married. They say that. Okay, if they get married noontime, so then in the morning for the shacharis, the morning prayers, they would say that. Okay. Okay, number 7. What takes place at...
And also Anenu.
Right. If they're fasting, right. They say name. Thank you. What takes place at the Kabbalah's Panim, the reception for the groom before the marriage ceremony? So we have there, they usually fill out the Tanaim. That's the document where both sides agree to go through with the marriage. And they also, and then there are witnesses that go to the groom, and they give him a, I don't know, a pen or a yarmulke or some item. If you're among Hasidim, they use a gartel, and they effectuate a kinyan which is basically they're obligating themselves to abide by whatever it says in this document. They give him an object, and he picks it up, or she picks it up, and by doing that is accepting upon himself or herself what it says in there, which is basically they just go through with the marriage. They do, and then they sign it. The witnesses sign it, and then we'll see in a minute. They're going to read it. Then they also in the room there, the reception room, they also read the ksuba, which is the marriage document that the husband gives to his wife, the groom gives to the bride. A very important document. So they fill out the date and the names, and they make sure also that they do this acquisition with some item, the pen or the handkerchief or the gartel, and they even have to fill in that word there. That's the word that a lot of very often they forget to fill in the rush. Forget to fill in that word. V'kanina. We made this acquisition with the chassid where the groom obligates himself to abide whatever it says in the ksuba. Okay. The ksuba is you've seen the text of the ksuba, and it's a document where the groom is obligating himself to treat his wife appropriately. And also, in case of marriage or divorce, then there's a certain sum of money that she's entitled to. Again, we could spend many classes. People spend years on the Maseches Ksubas learning about all the intricacies of the Ksuba. But anyway, that's a very, very important document. Okay, that's something that the wife has to have at all times. She has to know where it is at all times, and if it gets lost, then she has to get a replacement. It's called like Ksuba de Irkasa. So it's something that some people have to be very careful with at the marriage ceremony, that someone responsible takes the ksuba and either gives it to the bride after the wedding is over, or just holds on to it and tells her, "I'll give it back to you, whenever you want, but you should know it's safe with me, so that way it's not going to be lost." We'll talk about that a little bit later on. They read the Tanaim in the room there, the reception room. Somebody just gets up and reads the words of this original document, where both sides agree to everything, and then afterwards, a representative of the groom's side and the bride's side, usually the mothers, the two machatenistas, break a plate, and the purpose of breaking the plate is similar to breaking the glass. Probably many people are familiar with that under the canopy, after the ceremony is over, the groom breaks the glass. But over here, they break a plate. And the reason for both is the same, because at a time of great joy, we don't want to forget the destruction of Yerushalayim and the temple. So they break a plate. The question is, why over here a plate? Why over there a glass? There are reasons for that. I'm not going to go into it because I want to get to some more things. Just parenthetically, there was one of the great rabbis in pre-war Europe was Rabbi Meir Simcha, the great Rav of Dvinsk, and when a woman would come to him sometimes with a question, a kashrus question, she had some type of a plate that she wanted to know whether it was kosher. Somehow, let's say it was a dairy, put some hot meat on it. So he didn't have the heart to tell her throw it out. So he would tell her, save it for the next child that gets married, and you'll break it there before the chuppah. That was a positive spin on it. Okay, but he told her you can't use it though. You can't use the plate for anything else. Okay, now what is the badecking, covering the bride with a veil? This is actually a very important part of the marriage ceremony. And after they break the plate, then in the reception room for the groom, then they accompany the groom to where the bride is in her reception room, and there are the fathers and men accompany the groom there, And then they have a short ceremony, which is called the badeking, which is where he covers her with a veil. And in some Hasidic communities, the Rabbi, the Rebbe covers her with a veil. And there are different reasons for it, but some say it's just that she should be covered over. She shouldn't see what she's being given as under the chuppah. So she shouldn't. She wants to show that whatever he's giving her, whether it's worth $100, $200, is acceptable to her. That's one reason. But the main reason is because this is a form of chuppah. An important part of the marriage ceremony is there is the kedushin and there's the chuppah, and there's where the groom gives the bride the ring. That's the first part of the ceremony, and then the second part and that's only half of the ceremony. In the old days, the groom would give the bride kedushin or erusin, he'd give her the ring, and then when they were very young, when they would get married, probably just bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, they would go back to their respective homes, and then a year or two later, then they would actually have the next part of the ceremony, which is the chuppah. So we'll talk about that. But in any case, there are two parts of the ceremony. So one of them is chuppah. And according to some interpretation, you saw probably in the sources over here, that putting the veil over the bride is a form of chuppah. That's one of the 7 interpretations of what chuppah is. So even though it comes before he puts the ring on, we're not concerned about that issue. But you usually assume that he gives the ring, and then afterwards you have chuppah. Here the chuppah comes first, but that's okay. But anyway, it's an important part of the marriage. So this is one of the forms of chuppah that's done. Okay. Then afterwards, after they do this, then the bride and groom get ready to walk down the aisle to the chuppah. Now, I mentioned before that those who accompany the shoshvinin are those who bring the bride and the groom to the wedding canopy. This was, I told you, when Adam and Chava, when Adam and Eve were married, their marriage ceremony, which took place the day that they were created, God Himself and the angels accompanied them to the chuppah. And exactly who is supposed to do it is a very often a source of major friction between the two sides. Whether it's the father and mother of each one who walks down his or her respective child, or whether the two fathers walk down the groom and the two mothers walk down the bride. This is one of those issues that people have very strong feelings about. Either way is acceptable, and it's really not worth making a big fight over it. We were hearing there's a very famous, very great Rabbi, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, who, when they would ask him what his custom was, he would say, "My custom is whatever the other side wants." That's the best way to do it. Okay, let's go on. Before walking down to the aisle, in many cases, and sometimes under the chuppah, the groom puts on a kittel, which is a white garment. People wear that on Yom Kippur. Some people wear it at the Seder, and after 120 years, the man is buried in his kittel. One of the reasons is, besides that it represents the whiteness and the purity, and the fact that he repented, it's also a very strong incentive to repenting is to think about the day of death. So this is a way to get the groom to become serious and realize his responsibilities and realize that he has to repent and conduct his life properly from now on. There are some who put ashes on the above a place where he puts his tefillin on his head, also as a sign of mourning for the destruction of the temple. Candles, those who accompany the bridegroom down usually hold candles. And there is some interesting significance to that to the fact that their souls are being bound together, and it says that the soul of a person is the Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, that the candle of God is the soul of a person. So there are different allusions to or analogies between the candles and the soul. Okay, the purpose of the chuppah is, again, because one of the important components of the marriage ceremony is the chuppah. Besides putting the ring on her finger, there also has to be a chuppah. They recite brachas under the chuppah. So that's if you ask anybody, what is chuppah, they'll always tell you that's the wedding canopy, which is true. It's just one of the many interpretations. But at a marriage ceremony now, we do the badecking. That's covering the bride with the veil. We have them stand under the marriage canopy. Among the Sfaradim, and I think among some of the Jews of Germanic origin, they actually put a talus over. They just drape a talus over the bride and the groom, which is like a real canopy. It's really over them. And then there's a third interpretation of what exactly is chuppah, and that's when after the marriage, after they leave the canopy, they go to a room where they're secluded and they have food there, and that's the third interpretation of chuppah, where the groom takes the bride into his room. Sometimes they even rent they give $1 to the caterer. They rent that room, and they're secluded there, and they have food, and that's the form of chuppah. He's taking her into his domain. Okay. Okay. Now the two components, number 12. What are the two components of the marriage ceremony? So there is the kedushin, which I told you, is where, or Erusin, the same thing, where the groom puts the ring, says a statement, and he's, hurry up, that you'll be trusted to me with this ring according to the laws of Moshe and Israel, and so and then he puts the ring on the finger. That's the first step of the marriage ceremony, and then the second one is the chuppah or nisuin, which is the simplest standing under the chuppah there, and they recite brachas, the 7 brachas under the chuppah. Okay. In addition to the bride and groom, who else is involved in the marriage ceremony? Sure.
Could you explain a little more about the difference between the two parts? One is lesser kol ha'olam, and the other one is to be matir to the husband.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. That's when he puts the ring on. But he makes the statement, "You're betrothed to me," and he puts the ring on her finger. So at that point already, she is considered a married woman, and she's forbidden. She's forbidden to any other man at that point. And if at that point, she wants to back out, they need a get, even though the marriage was never. They went further on with the marriage, but she's still not allowed to be intimate with her husband until after the chuppah or the nisuin part, which takes place a minute later. But like I told you, in the old days, it took place a year apart. But at that point, she was considered a married woman. So he puts the ring on, so she is forbidden to anyone else and to her husband. And then it's the nisuin, the chuppah, that actually permits them to each other. Okay, the various people who officiate there, who are at the marriage ceremony, there's the officiating rabbi, the Masadi Kedushim. There are the witnesses. There are witnesses on many different steps. I told you already for the tanoim, for the ksuba, and then under the canopy there are witnesses who see the groom give the ring to the kala, to the bride, and hear him say it. And those are probably from a halachic perspective, the most important people there. Because they're the ones who actually validate the whole thing by being. There have to be witnesses there, and then there's the person who reads the ksuba, and then afterwards there are those who recite the 7 blessings under the chuppah. Okay, now, yeah.
What's the origin of the Yeshiva-Lite, the 7 blessings?
Well, some say it actually goes back to the times of. When the very first Jewish marriage, with actually the second Jewish marriage, but between Yitzchak and Rivka, that it says that they blessed Rivka, and some say that it had to do, it originated over there. The concept anyway originated over there, but it's something that's been around since the times of the Torah was given, that they had this concept of brachas, of 7 brachas. If they were the exact text that we have it now, I don't know, but it was this concept that went back to the times of Moshe. Yeah.
What are some of the reasons why the bride circles the groom 7 times?
Oh, okay. You know what? I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, it's a good question. Just hold on for a minute. I'll describe exactly what goes on this. Okay, a cup of wine is used at the ceremony twice. Once for the ring giving ceremony, the kedushin, and then also for the Shevet brachas, the chuppah ceremony. A cup of wine is used in many situations of in Jewish life, at a marriage ceremony, at a bris, when a firstborn is redeemed, the Pidyon Haben, the cup of wine is very, very prominent. It's called a kos shel bracha, a cup of blessing, and it's used so it's used over here also twice. Okay, how much time do we have left?
Let's make it, it's going to ring in 2 minutes. We have 5 minutes.
Okay, give me 5 minutes. Let me just tell you what goes on in the marriage ceremony, okay? And then I'll answer your question, okay? The chassan and the groom walks down first to the chuppah. He's accompanied by his parents or the two fathers. He goes first. And then if they want to have people walking in between, they want to have grandparents, they want to have ring bearers or flower girls or whatever they want to have, that's okay. But the bride goes last. She's accompanied by either her parents or her or the two mothers. And when she does come there, then the first thing she does is she walks around the groom 7 times. Some say that the idea of walking around her is sort of like to build a protective wall. A wife protects the husband from the evil inclination. She is considered an important source of encouragement, both for spiritual matters and in mundane matters. But she's the wall around him. She's his protection, and we recognize that. Why exactly 7 times? Some say it's that the world was created in 7 days. It's just sort of like the culmination of the creation by when a man and woman get married. So that's the significance of it. After that, she stands on his right side. Sometimes they're facing the audience. Sometimes they have their backs to the audience. There are different customs about that. Then the announcer calls up the rabbi who's officiating and the 2 witnesses, and then the rabbi comes up there and he asks the groom to produce the ring. That's 3
minutes, but we'll make it 5.
Okay, I want to keep it on. You're right. I won't be able to finish it. But in any case, once again, you're right, Rabbi Khan. In any case, though, let's just finish the marriage ceremony. Then he asks the groom for the ring, and hopefully the groom has it. And it does happen. Sometimes they loses it, and all is not lost if the ring is lost. It's not the most pleasant situation there, but it has happened, and it is permissible actually, even though the ring is supposed to belong to the groom. It has to be his ring. He can actually borrow a ring from someone in the audience, as long as that person gives it to him wholeheartedly, that it should be his at the time of the marriage ceremony. Then it's okay. And he'll give it back. She'll give it back afterwards. The bride will give it back afterwards, and hopefully he'll get her a ring of her own. But it is. But anyway, though, so the rabbi asks, "Is this your ring?" And he says, "Yes." And he asks, "Is it worth at least a pruta, just a few cents? Because it has to have some intrinsic value, at least a pruta, which fluctuates according to the value of silver." And the groom says, "Yes." Then he shows it to the 2 witnesses. The rabbi shows the ring and says, "You see this ring? It's his ring. You see it's worth at least a pruta." And they say, "Yes." And then he turns to the bride and he says, "Are you willing to accept this if it's worth only a pruta?" Okay, we try to have a plain, simple ring. We don't have a ring with diamonds in it or fancy engraving or anything like that. At the time of the marriage ceremony, you want to put names on it afterwards, that's fine. But at the time of the marriage ceremony, you want it to be a plain, simple ring because we don't want to mislead the bride into thinking that it's worth more than it really is. Okay, and you tell her, "Are you willing to accept it's worth just a pruta?" And she says, "Yes." So at that point, he turns to the groom and he says, "Go ahead." So at that point, he says that statement, "You're betrothed to be with this ring according to the laws of Moses and Israel." And then after he says that, he puts the ring on the finger. And that pointer, he uses the pointer. The simple reason why he puts it on the pointer is, first of all, in the old days, women did traditionally wear rings on the pointers. I don't know if they were as we call the ring finger. But even more simple reason why the pointer is because it's the easiest for the witnesses to see. It's the easiest finger to hold up, and the witnesses then can see him putting the ring on the finger, which validates the whole ceremony. If he uses a different finger, even like the ring finger there, it's the other fingers are blocking it. So it's a practical reason. If he put it on a different finger, it's also fine. Okay, let's go on. Then at that point, she's a married woman. Actually, before the ceremony, the rabbi made the 2 blessings on the wine and on the called Berachas Eresin. He makes 2 blessings. Then the groom puts it on the ring on the collar, and then they give the bride and groom a little bit of wine to drink. And then they call up another rabbi to read the ksuba. And as important as the ksuba is, the reading for the ksuba is a very mundane reason for reading it. It's basically just to break up the two ceremonies, because we have a cup of wine for the first ceremony and a cup of wine for the second ceremony. You don't just, what are you making two brachas on a cup of wine 2 minutes apart? Reading the ksuba is considered an interruption, and therefore we can make another bracha on the wine, another blessing on the wine for the Sheva brachas. At that point, he reads the ksuba, then they give it to the kala, they give it to the bride, and then once she has it, then she usually gives it to her mother or to someone else to hold on to for safekeeping until after the wedding. Then at that point, then they call up the people who recite the 7 blessings under the chuppah. Those are called the Sheva brachas, and if you want to give it to each blessing to a different person, that's fine. If you want to give all 7 blessings to one person, that's fine. Usually the first 2 blessings go together, the bracha on the wine and then the next bracha. And by the Hasidim, sometimes they give all the brachas to the Rabbi, but the last bracha, the bracha achrita, is considered like the most prominent one, and that's certainly the Hasidic rabbis usually get that. After that, yeah.
Prohibition of intimacy without the ksuba, without knowledge where the ksuba is, etc. Because I think that's important.
Well, that's why she has to know either have it with her or know where she is. In order
intimacy.
Right. And if she loses it, then she has to go to a rabbi. It's not a big deal to do. It's very easy to replace the ksuba with the ksuba, but it has to be done. Sometimes people like 25 years into their marriage, they look around. Where's my ksuba? And she can't find it, so they have to trudge over to the rabbi and tell him I lost my ksuba. There was some lady once whose candlesticks were stolen. There was a break-in in her house. Her candlesticks were stolen, and a short time later, in a local silver store, she saw her candlesticks, and the proprietor said, "What do you mean? How do you know they're yours?" So she said, "Look inside the candlesticks in the hollow thing. You'll see my ksuba there." She had stored her ksuba there in her, which the lesson is: it's not a smart thing to keep ksuba in the candlesticks where it could be stolen easily, or in your jewelry box. Because anyone who's going to break into the house will go straight to the jewelry box and probably just take the whole thing and not read the ksuba and say, "I don't need this." Yes?
Rabbi, I just want to kind of clarify something. The ksuba itself, while it's important to know where the ksuba is and while it's an important document, that document itself, that's not the document of the marriage. The ring itself is the aspect that the marriage occurred.
Right.
So if while it's important to know where the ksuba is at all times, is this so? I mean, having marital relations without knowing where your ksuba is that really what we're saying right now?
Yes.
Simply yes. Yeah. It was meant. The ksuba was meant for the benefit of the woman. So that the reason was so that in the times of the rabbis, it was a substantial sum of money, and a man would think twice or 3 times or 4 times before he would entertain any thoughts of divorcing his wife because of this tremendous financial obligation. And so the ksuba was is definitely for the benefit of the woman, and therefore the rabbis were very strict with that she has to know where the ksuba is. So, while it doesn't effectuate the marriage, but it's an important part. The rabbis were very, very strict about that. Okay? In any case, so after the chuppah is over, they give them again to drink a little bit of wine, and then the groom breaks the glass, which is again to remember the destruction the time of tremendous joy. We remember the sorrow of the destruction of the temple. Then afterwards, they go into the people, the band starts playing, and people start dancing, and they lead them to the yichud room, where they're secluded there for approximately 8 or 9 minutes. There are various interpretations about, and various views about how long they should be there, but it's not longer than that. There's food there, and that's an important part of the marriage ceremony. That's according to some, that is chuppah. And there are witnesses that stand outside, and they check the room first, make sure no one else is there. And I'll end off. I had a funny story that a number of years ago. They asked me to be one of the witnesses there at the yichud room. So I was standing there with another rabbi, standing outside, just kind of biding our time till the 8 minutes were up. And about 4 minutes into the yichud, there's a knock from the other side of the door. I said to him, this doesn't look too good. I never had this before. What's it? So I said, come out. And the chassan opened the door and he said, do we have to eat bread, wash for the bread, and have bread in the room? Because the caterer had left them some water and to wash for bread. I said, no, you don't have to. But because he came out, we have to start over again, because it has to be 8 minutes uninterrupted. Meanwhile, like 3 minutes later, the caterer came down there. He's like, let's get him out of here. It's time. Got to move the chassan. I said, hold on. Something happened here. We need another 4 minutes. Okay, give us another 4 minutes. So he went off grumbling there under his breath there, and but the yichud went okay. In any case, that's the story. And afterwards, then they come out, and then the marriage begins. It's a very important mitzvah. It's an important mitzvah not only to get married, but it's a mitzvah to rejoice with those who get married. That's considered. It's a very, very big merit to rejoice with other people when they're building their new house, and the simcha and the joy that that others express is what helps build the foundation of the home. A home built on happiness and on joy is a house where the divine presence rests. And this is what we wish every bride and groom and every marriage, that should be the source for the divine presence that should rest there, and through that, then they have family, and this is the eternity of the Jewish people. Thank you very much for listening.